Ladies and gentlemen, I am really excited today to bring on a guest and have a conversation. It's been a bit, but this guy, every time I see him, it's like I saw him yesterday. And we had a great conversation a few years back. And I am thrilled that he is able to take a little time today. He is certainly to this day one of the greatest superstars in the WWE to ever step into the ring. And he was a gigantic fan favorite. And folks, the reason I can say that is because I was there. I saw it. I witnessed it. Every time this guy stepped into an arena, he blew the roof off. And it wasn't just because of Frankie. It was because of this guy, Koko B Ware. Koko, how are you? Great to see you.
Doing great, man. How are you? Good to see you too, man.
Yeah, you look good. And
God, you
I
you
also
did
want to
too,
add,
man.
folks, that during my time with the WWE, as we say now, I was an outsider. I didn't come from the business, and so it was. And back then, and Coco will attest to this. It was a rough business. It was old school. A lot of generational wrestling was still going on. The territories were still in existence. Vince hadn't taken over the world yet. And so it was tough for somebody coming in like me who had a sports background, but I didn't know a lot about professional wrestling. I didn't know the insides and the out. And people like Coco, and I have never forgotten this to this day. And he doesn't, you don't become friends with Coco Beware easily. You've got to earn it. And I just kept my head down, but as we would see each other at arenas and many different events and pay-per-views and all this, we got to be really good friends. And most of the time, because people like Gorilla and Alfred and these guys would tell me, you can't be friends with the boys. You're from a different world. But I knew Coco was just a genuine person, and we got to be great friends. So it's just wonderful to have this conversation with you. And how you doing these days? What are you up to?
Well, man, I'm just kind of working part time, with a great constructions group of guys and stuff. And I just work 3 days a week, and I go out and on the weekends, not every weekend, I just go out and sign some autographs from Coco B Ware and just kind of live the legend's dream.
Yeah, absolutely. And folks, as you know, Koko B Ware, a Hall of Famer. That is an elite group in this world. If you are in the WWE Hall of Fame, you are among a special collection of humans that had a gift in the ring, and Koko recognition well deserved, and also being with the Legends contract. But I know you're in demand. You could every week probably because these days that people still appreciate that golden era which you were a part of. And, I want to cover a lot of ground today when we're talking, but I really want to start because I was thinking about the last time we chatted. And I just remember it really stood out to me of you saying, the time you had worked your ass off in the business to, get into, to continue to elevate yourself in professional wrestling. And you were working in Mid South, which, folks, if you know anything about professional wrestling, that was one of the greatest training grounds, and down south it was the elite, and you didn't get there unless you knew what you were doing. And you got that call from Howard Finkel, and take me back because I know you didn't even believe it that they were calling.
No, I did not, and it was just kind of shocking to me. And because the boys always they put on a whole lot of ribbon, they rib all the time. And I said, man. And then when I got the phone call from Howard, he said, "Coco, this is Howard Finkel from the WWE and stuff like that." And I said, "No, no, there's no way. There's no way." It said, "No." Howard said, "I tell you what, I'm gonna give you my phone number. Just call me back. Just call me back, and I guarantee you, Vince would love for you to come up and have a meeting with him and see if you want to make a good move in in your career." And so I said, "Well, I just don't believe this here." And so Howard just he hung up, and I called him back, and of course, it was Howard Finkel again, and I'm going. I guess this is true. I said, I guess this time the boys they're not franking with me right now, and we got to talking. We got to talking, and I said, this has got to be true. Oh my God! And then and that's where it took off. It took off from there.
Well, and really, it's amazing where you went from there. But people really need to know that road you traveled. You're this kid from Union City who
Yeah,
fell in love with wrestling as a boy, and I think you were telling me. I remember the story. If it's correctly, you're out riding your bike and you see these guys work it out in some gym, and you just go like, "I want to do this." And even then, I can't even imagine what it was like. But to go from that, and of course, as I mentioned, you had worked your way up. I mean, Mid South was a very well known territory, but this was a whole new world, and they treated you with an incredible welcome. I think. What was that when you got that call? And I remember that Vince would do this when he brought people in. He made them realize that this is the big time. What was that experience like? I imagine they'd send you a ticket, and then you're heading up north.
well, I was just so nervous because I was just that little country boy, hadn't been in any of the big cities but Memphis, and and I was just kind of afraid, and of course I was down in Mid South Wrestling with promoter Bill Watts, and when I got the call, when Howard called me, and I said, so when it happened, man, I said I don't know anything about New York, Madison Square Garden. I heard I heard a lot about it, but just for me trying to get there, and golly, and then when I got on the plane, I was just kind of nervous, Sean. I was really nervous just because this here is my first rodeo by myself, just getting away from my little small country town, Union City, and then going to Madison Square Garden and all these other places, and going in there to see Vince. Of course, Vince in the office, was in Connecticut,
Yeah.
and I flew right in LaGuardia, and man, they put that. Next thing you know, this big limousine driver came up, had a big sign up, Coco and all that, and I said, is this the Coco that y'all looking for to pick up? He said, yep. He said, we need. He said, we need to take you to Connecticut
Yeah.
and and be with Vince McMahon is waiting on you. And I'm going, oh my God. So they put me in this great big old limo. And this thing was so long, and I'd never been in a limo and all this stuff. Man, I'm just nervous, man. And finally, the driver, they was all super nice and stuff like that. And so when we got to Connecticut, there's a big sign up with WWF, or WWE, but we can't say
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
no more. Uh, but man, and I got into the building, and I'm going, holy cow, wow, man, this is unbelievable. And so they set me in the waiting room, and then after that, I guess I must have sat in that waiting room for 30 minutes, and I guess they was all looking at me on camera going, man, because I was all nervous and everything, and then found the young lady came out and said, Coco, uh, Miss ready to see you. Would come follow me. So I followed her down the hallway and stuff, and make several little turns and stuff, and then go into and said, just sit right here. Vince's office was right across the waiting room. So was sitting there for a little bit, and Vince was on the phone, and I could hear him on the phone. It sounded like him anyway. And so he finally got off the phone, and Vince come out there, Koko B Ware, what's up? What's up, Koko B Ware? I mean, just like, oh my God, this guy already know me.
Yeah.
It was just like, and then we got to talking. And he said, "Come on in." He said, "We got to talking and going on and stuff." Man, it was just. I was still nervous. I was just, but it was a big lift off in my career because this is what I wanted to be at. This is what I dreamed about
Hmm.
doing, you know. And as a little kid in Union City, Tennessee, in my mom's bed, I dreamed about this. Mom, I'm gonna be on stage, and we're gonna be in this big old arena and stuff like that, and there's gonna be thousands of people is watching me. My mother was just go like, yeah, okay, all right, all right. I said,
Mm.
I'm telling you, mother, I'm telling you, this is what I really want to see. You sure you want to be this wrestler and all that? You a high school football player and all that. But mom, I don't want that right now. I want this wrestling. I love this wrestling there, and and I kept, just kept praying and kept praying, and then I saw WrestleMania 3 come up in my dream, and man, I told the world about that. I said, man, y'all won't believe it that WrestleMania
Mm.
3 came up in my dream as a kid,
Oh,
and,
wow.
and that's what I really was hoping for, and stuff like that, and everybody said they have a dream, whatever, and some of them don't come true, but mine came true. Mine
Wow.
came true, and I just thank God for making it happen. And then I never would have met you, Sean,
Mm.
if it hadn't have been with WWF. I mean, I
Yeah.
keep saying that again, with WWE. But you know what I'm saying. But I just, you came along and you showed me some love, that happiness, and hey man, Coco, how you doing? And you was concerned, just, and you made me feel good, even with Bill Watts down in Louisiana, when he heard that I was going up to see Vince. I mean, he just, man, just said, Coco, I'm proud of you, man. I'm just proud of you. Go ahead and take that opportunity and stuff like that. Bill Watts could have said, Coco, I don't know about all that, but he could have just told me, he said, well, I don't think that's a good idea for you to do that.
Yeah.
But Bill just said, go ahead and see what they offer.
Yeah.
See
Well,
what they
and that
offer.
really was the big leagues. I mean, that you got the call, and Vince didn't just invite anybody to the tower. And when they did it right, as you talked about. They send you up there, they fly you up, and then the limousine's waiting there, and it says James Ware on the sign. And they treated you with absolute respect when you went there. But also, I knew, like, when they brought you up, they already felt like they wanted to sign you. They already felt you were going to be part of their roster. But I understand how you'd be nervous going in there, and you're kind of thinking like, what are they going to offer me? And you were already the Birdman. You'd had
Yeah,
kind of established that gimmick. But I love the story about how you took it a little further that day with the idea of having that that sidekick you would have for and be well known for. But it was that day in the office, right? That all came to be with you entering and Vince saying, "Hey, is there anything else you want to do with
yeah.
your
After
character?"
after after the end of the conversation that we had and
Yeah.
everything, and Vince said, he said, I started to leave, and Vince said, Coco. And I turned around and he said, is there anything else that you would like to add to your gimmick? And And what do you know? I had this picture, Polaroid picture, in my shirt pocket, and I pulled it out, and I said, Vince, I forgot about this. Man, I said, I forgot about this parrot here that this is the whole big deal of having Frankie. And I said, I would love to have this parrot. And this parrot can go all where it can we can relate to the kids
Yeah.
because I'm not the biggest guy in the world. In fact, I think I'm the shortest person that you ever hired. I said, but I can do the high flying stuff, and I can relate to the kids and with this parrot,
Yeah.
and they would, and then I can relate to them, and they can relate to me. And I said, man, and Vince looked at it, he said, golly, man, what an ideal, man, to come up with. He said, you came up with it? I said, yes, sir. The whole Birdman gimmick was my ideal. And he said, well, you know what? I tell you what, um, well, you're gonna have to if we get this parrot, you're gonna have to take them all. You are you feeling comfortable with that? Taking them all over the world? And I said, and I looked at Vince. I said, Vince, this here, this is what's gonna bring Koko B Ware out even more. That I'm gonna be up there with guys like Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, all you big monsters that you have. I said, I'm gonna be on their level and those kids out there they're gonna really love me on merchandise and everything, and it's just gonna be something different. It's gonna be really something different, and I really appreciate you. He's Vince said, well, hey, I know a guy can get the parrot. He said, man, I can't believe it. He said, now we got a snake, we got a dog. And we got a dragon and we got a
Yeah.
bird.
Did you already have the name Frankie picked out? Was that where'd that come from?
Well, actually, I didn't really have it picked out.
Yeah.
Uh, I think I don't know, it was Bobby Heenan or somebody, Pat Patterson.
Yeah. So,
They was going
well, call
like,
him Frankie.
yeah, what are you going to call this bird? 'Cause when they brought the bird to me, it was in Baltimore, Maryland. That's where we kicked it off at.
Yeah. Before
And
you
then,
tell me more about that, because I know that you had never been around birds even at that point. But where did the
no,
Birdman come from? Where did that whole thing derive from? And I know you adopt kind of started using the Morris Day song, but where did the Birdman, like where did you come up with that?
well, that was when we watched the Birdman. We watched Mars Day and the time
Yeah.
they was doing the bird dance, and man, I said, you know what? I could take that and I could take it to the wrestling world,
Right.
and it's an easy dance. I can get mom and dad and granddaddy and grandmama and everybody doing an easy dance. Just when I go around the ring, just hey, stand up, just do the little flappy stuff, just flap your wings and stuff like that, you
Yeah.
know.
And you're a
And
high flyer, so it makes sense.
the people got into it. They just
Yeah.
they loved it. I would grab the little kids and stuff, and I said, "Come on!" I would get the kids in the ring and just do a 5 minutes dance, and I was really protected because I didn't want the kids to get hurt or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just in the ring and stuff. But never one of my little birds out there got hurt in the ring. Thank God.
Yeah.
While we doing the bird dance and all that stuff, then nothing crazy come up and anything like that. Everybody loved it. The parents loved it. The grandma and grandmama and granddaddy loved it, and the whole world just took off. All the wrestling fans all around the world, they just love that Koko B Ware, the Birdman Koko B Ware.
Yeah,
And
they
and
did.
when we saw that when we was playing Mars Day song, because they came out with it, they was doing the bird on his show,
Yeah.
and I tried to get a video with Mars Day at the time, and don't you know that it was kind of heartbreaking, Sean, that Mars Day company called the office and asked us not to play their song again.
Oh,
And, and it was kind of, I mean, it just kind of like, oh my God, I said, we can't do the video with Mars Day in there. And I said, that's what we wanted. I want to be on stage with him, with me and him and Frankie is doing the bird,
yeah.
doing that same dance, that Mars Day put out, have you heard a brand new dance? It's called the bird. I mean, that's what we was playing. And then as we, then we had to stop it. So I had to get my gospel group,
Yeah.
you know, to kind of pick it up. And
Yeah,
when
well,
Jimmy,
it's a blessing. It's a blessing that that happened in a sense that Morris Day didn't allow you to use that music because then I know you teamed up with Jimmy, which I hope more people need to appreciate his talent, not just as a manager, but he was like a music writer and also your musical talent that you guys got to team up, and it still to this day. I mean, it's a great tune,
well, Jimmy
great
Hart came
song.
in, and what a great guy Jimmy Hart is, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I love him to death, and he's a hustler, and I tell you, man, Jimmy, he asked me, said, "Coke, you've been singing a gospel and all that.
Hmm.
You think one of your gospel groups can sing back up, can
Hmm.
do back up on this bird, 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 and all that stuff?" And I said, "Well, I know the guys real well. We'll call them up and we'll talk to them about it and stuff like that." And they was more than happy to do that, and that we just that's the song we came out with, bird, 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 do the bird, bird, bird.
Get up,
You
everybody.
got it.
Get up off
Get up
your
on your
feet.
feet, put your hands together and do the
Together.
bird with me. See that?
Yeah.
I mean, right? And
Still
everybody,
know the
man,
words.
it
Yeah.
was it was so good. I mean,
Yeah.
and it was just, it was just like singing the Mars Days song, the Jungle Love,
Yeah.
and so. But anyway, we had to move on from that and all that stuff. But like I said, when he closes one door, when the devil closes one door, God opens another one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Well,
that,
and then like getting back to Frankie though, as I mentioned, you probably walked out of that office with Vince going, "Oh, great, careful what you wish for because I'm going to get this bird." And
yeah,
I know you had no idea what you were doing. Tell us that story because I just love to hear it. I actually wanted to listen to it again if you tell me, and I had tears in my eyes. I was laughing so hard about those early days with Frankie. And I think you said like the first time you ever really saw this bird, and I think they brought it to Baltimore. I'll let you take it from there.
yeah, they of course with Pat Patterson, what a great
Yeah,
guy he were with me. Some guys didn't agree with Pat, but I love Pat.
yeah.
I love Pat and Louie and stuff like
Hmm.
that.
Me too.
And man, I tell you, when they brought him in the dressing room, brought Frankie in the dressing room, and Pat said, "Coco, we got your bird here," and boy, man, I mean, here it is. Here it is. I'm trying to open up. Now I'm trying to open the box up and stuff like that, and then the bird won't come out of the box, you know. And Pat's going like, "Oh my God, Coco, what we gonna do?" I mean, we're working with Frankie here for at least a good 15, 20 minutes, just trying to get him out of the box at the cage there. And Frankie was just holding on the cage with his beak. He was just holding on inside and wouldn't come out. I said, "Oh my God!" And Pat was going, "Coco, you sure you want to do this?" And then he said, "This bird is not coming out of his cage." And all I said, "Pat, he's got to come out of his cage." I said, "This, Pat, if I don't have this bird, I'm a dead duck in the water."
Yeah.
And I said, there, you might well. There's no more Birdman. I said, I got to get him out of this cage. And he said, "Oh my God, good luck." And then we finally, me and Pat Patterson had to disassemble the cage. I mean, we had to go get wire pliers, screwdrivers, and everything. And finally, we took the top off, and when it took the top off, the whole cage just collapsed on the side, and Frankie didn't have nowhere to go. But you know, I had to wear some gloves and stuff because I didn't know nothing about
Walking. Yeah.
Frankie squawking and going on. I didn't know if he's gonna bite me or what. And Pat was going like, "Oh my!" And Pat was he the one was just that I was just tickled to death of Pat more than anything because Pat was just going, "Coco, you sure you want to take this bird out there?" I said, "You sure you want to do this?" He kept asking me, "You sure you want to do this? You sure?" Oh my God, Coco, this bird's gonna bite, man. This bird, look at him, he's mean. Oh my God, Coco. And I said, "Pat, will you please?" and uh, and so we got him settled down and everything. And I said, there was a bird stand. They had a bird stand for me, and I got a bird stand and stuff like that, and got Frankie on the bird stand, and then I got to talking to him and talking to him. Then here come our show. Our show, we was next in line. We had a match. I said, Pat was going like, "You sure you want to take him out there to that crowd?" And this is the only time this happened. We uh,
Yeah.
we had a chain. We put a chain around his leg,
So he wouldn't fly off. Yeah.
so he wouldn't go nowhere because I didn't want
Yeah.
him to fly into my wrestling fans. I didn't want to hurt my little bird sitting out there waiting to see us and stuff like that. So I just said, well, I said we got to put this chain on him.
Yeah.
So we
Right.
finally put him. We took a towel, throw it over his head, and here's me and Pat. I said, Pat, you got to hold it. I don't want this thing to bite me. Oh my God! He said, I don't. I said, Pat, I gotta put the lock on around his little leg so he won't fly. And Pat go, well, golly, hurry up, please, hurry up. Oh my God, look at him. He's biting. Look at how he's biting through the towel and all that stuff. Man, and Pat was just going crazy. Pat said, "Oh my God." He said, "You sure you want to do this?"
Yeah.
And I'm going, Pat, I got to do this.
Yeah.
I said, "This is like Albert and Costello."
Yeah.
so so we finally got it locked down, and they said, "Well, your match is on it next," and stuff like that. So then here we go. I'm carrying the perch out. I'm carrying the bird out and stuff, and I'm holding with the chain, and man, we going around and just going around and going around. The music is playing and stuff like that, and the people ate it up in
Yeah.
Baltimore. They
Yeah.
loved it, man. They just loved it, and uh, and then when it was all over with, uh, told Pat, I said, Pat, thank you. You was fun. You was fun. And Pat was said, how in the world? You sure you want to carry this thing all over the world? Pat
Yeah.
was just like, you know. I said, Pat, I have to. This is my bread and butter here. I said, if I get in the ring with Frankie, if me and Frankie get in the ring and together, it's gonna be just like me in there with Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, all the big monsters.
Yeah, Frankie
So
may have been your toughest opponent ever at the time because I know that you didn't have any training at all, and Frankie
no,
didn't have wasn't a trained bird. So,
no, it wasn't
how'd
training.
you
And
get through those first weeks? I mean, I think you said you locked yourself in a hotel room with him and
that
just
that night when we got back to the hotel, because Pat said, "Here you go, Coco. This your bird. You
you figure it out. You figure
you
it
figure
out. Yeah,
everything out and stuff like that,
yeah.
and we'll see you on the next show." So
Bye bye.
we got back to the hotel. We got a little something to eat. I had a little trays where we're giving food and water and stuff like that. And I put newspaper down down on the floor where he would do his little business, and it
Yeah.
wouldn't be all over the carpet and all that stuff. So and then I said, Frankie, we got to. And I was just sitting there talking to him, and I'm going, Frankie, we got to do better than this. We got to work together. And I said, if you make us, you got to help us make some money, and not only that, you're gonna eat a whole lot of sunflower seed. I said,
Yeah.
you're gonna be healthy, you're gonna be well taken care of. And I said, all the little fans out there, they're gonna love you. They're gonna love us, and they're gonna really love you, Frankie.
Yeah.
I said, but you're gonna have to work with me. And it's just like a common thing, just where I didn't know what to say to
Yeah.
an yeah, I didn't know what to say to Frankie, and then it just kind of, and I'm looking at him sad, the kind of tears are kind of coming out of my eyes and stuff like that, and it looked like some tears was coming out of Frankie's eyes.
Wow. A bonding moment, right?
Yeah, and
Didn't you go to Coco? Didn't you go to like a pet shop or something, and you met some people that knew how to train birds, and you got books and just way on the road there, you're just learning as you go, right?
well, yeah,
How long
from
did it take
that
before
night,
he really started to train him like he was
yeah,
doing?
from that night, we we, uh, we got together and we finally got him loaded up. We went to Buffalo, flew in Buffalo, got got a room and stuff like that. Of course, I had to set the bird stand back up and all that stuff, and fed him and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And then I took off and I left. I said, Frankie, I'll be back in a minute. And I took off and I went to this bird store. And I asked them in Buffalo. I said, "Do y'all, what do y'all have? Have anything like to train a bird and stuff like that? And one guy gave me like a stick, probably. I mean, not this long
Like a pencil.
pencil. Yeah,
Yeah. Like
and,
that big. Yeah.
but it was pretty long. Then
Yeah.
and then he said, now when he started not doing what you want him to do, kind of tap him on his beak. Said no, and just said no. And Frankie would he would die. He was like he throw his head back,
Bobbing and weaving, huh?
Right. And he said, "Oh my God." I said, Frankie, no, we got it, we got it. And then he said, now when you want him to step up, what you call step up on your arm, on your
Yeah.
and you gotta take your arm and push towards his body and look like he want to fall, and then he would step up on your arm,
Hmm.
and that's what he's thinking. He don't want to fall back, but he said, if I step up, I'm gonna step on his arm and he won't fall back.
Yeah.
That's but he was doing exactly what I wanted him to do. He was stepping up on the stick. And then I started playing little games with him on the stick where it rotates,
Uh-huh.
and he will step up. He will step up. He will step up. He will step up every time I have two sticks, and and just a little bit at a time and stuff like that. And we go to the next show and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, you became quite a team. You really did.
right?
As part, it wasn't easy, I know, initially. And people don't
And then
understand too that you had to travel with Frankie. Like a lot, I
right,
mean, people probably thought, oh, wherever he goes to, and we had the TV tapings or whatever. They probably take the bird for him, and then he just gets. No, you had to travel with that bird. And how did you get on a flight? I mean, you put him on a cage and in a seat next to you? How did that work?
no, I had a cage. I had a big enough cage where Frankie could have water and stuff like that, and bananas and stuff,
Yeah,
sunflower seed and stuff. I would have that cage, and then I would have a lock on the cage where could nobody unlock it,
right.
you know, because and then I would do that, and I would have to get there early. That's the thing about it. I had to have to get there real early than anybody else to
Yeah.
check the animals in.
Right. That's when they used to have the dogs fly and baggage and animals. I guess that's what they did. But that was had to be, added to it. But as you said, that's what helped put you over too. I mean, people loved
Yeah,
Frankie.
you had to get
And
there. You had,
Frankie lived for
exactly.
how many years? I mean, it wasn't like they had a few Matildas. We always knew there was a bunch of snakes, but Frankie was with you for a long time, right?
Yeah, yeah. He was with me probably. I'll say uh, between 30, maybe 25.
25 years?
Yeah, I'm thinking
Really?
it was close to because when we I still had him when he was 94
Wow. Yeah.
when I left WWE in 94. Well, me and Frankie was at the house,
Hmm.
and so I'm thinking I'm gonna say at least I'm not gonna shoot myself up real high because I never did even think about it. But when I lost him, I was more concerned about the loss.
Yeah, it was in a fire. Is that how we lost Frankie?
Yeah, yeah, in
Wow.
a house fire.
What year was that?
Oh man, that's had to be around. Ooh, I think it may be 90. Is it 95?
Oh, well,
90,
okay, so it was a while ago, yeah. But
right,
really, though, people remember that so fondly, and your career really took off,
right,
and you were, going up against some of the biggest superstars. And I think you arrived in the WWE in '87, and a year later. Or I mean, not even. You're at WrestleMania 3. You got a big push. You with Butch Reed. What did that mean to you at the time? Like you talk about being this kid from Union City, and to and you were pretty young then to have reached that height in professional wrestling. What did that mean to you to be in WrestleMania? 93,000 people. Wow.
man. It was a great honor,
Yeah.
and I still have the picture of that. I keep it in my wallet, and I show some of the younger wrestlers that learning the business right now. I let them see and say, look here, guys, when you can be able to conquer this here, conquer this.
You dreamed it,
I said,
right?
man, y'all are doing something when I said that. And
Yeah.
so, and but I just tell them all. I just hold on. That I think that was Vince. Hold on. No, it was no, no. That was no. But other than that, what I want to say, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Wake up, thinking about that dream, and then it came true and stuff like that. And And I'm telling you, I wish my mother would have could have saw that, but she passed on. You know, man, that was heartbreaking and stuff like that because
Yeah.
I wanted to buy her a house and everything, and I just wanted because we lived in a little old bitty shack thing where our sheetrock. I mean, we did we didn't have any sheetrock. We had just like cardboard
No.
walls and just coming up, and we had one gas heater that
Mm.
would heat the whole house up and stuff. And I never forget it that our commode area, bathroom, it was just man. Back then, they didn't. The floor wasn't brick. Now they do. They do brick floors now, and then build
Hmm.
your home.
Right.
But man, my dad used to have to crawl up on the house wintertime to fix the pipes of busing and stuff like that. I mean, it was just terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Did you remember? Do you remember a moment though when you walked into that arena and were able to take it in, just to look around and 93,000 people. That is a sea. That is a massive sea of people. And to just say, man, look where I am. Look what I've done.
Well, I tell you what, it hit me, but it didn't really hit me, Sean, until I got on the cart to going to the ring.
Right.
And man, that's when the tears and stuff
Mm.
man was just like,
Chills.
oh my God, here it is. This is what I dreamed about, and this is what happened. And God, thank you, thank you. I kept just saying, I was just giving it all to God. Said, thank you, thank you, thank you for making this come true. And it happened, and it happened, and the people, they was just rooting for me, just like Hulk Hogan was coming down the aisle.
Hmm.
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
No, Hulk got a bigger pop and stuff like that. But I felt like, hey man, Coco got a hey, I got the biggest pop out there too.
Oh, absolutely.
What
And you
up?
said before, you weren't the biggest athlete, but what you
No,
could do in the ring was just incredible.
right.
And you kind of led the way because I've talked about this before, where kind of old school wrestling, it was like the big guys, the big massive guys, and they go at each other. And if they put a small guy in the ring, people would be like, they wouldn't believe it. They're like, there's no way that this guy could defeat a 350 pound, 6'7" guy. But you
Right.
were one of those who led the way. I credit with the Rockers and some of the stuff that they were able to do because you could put them in the ring against anybody. But it was the same with you. And it was because of what you could do. You made it believable in the sense that, yeah, that's how brilliant that he gets up on that top turnbuckle and he launches into this guy who's, 6'7" or whatever, but with his, drop kick. And okay, I believe that. And then you were so quick that they couldn't get a hold of you. So I don't know if you ever think about that, but you really did make it blaze a trail for people who were these smaller wrestlers who had these absolutely great gymnastic moves, this agility in the ring. And were you aware of it then? Because I know you were really great at psychology. You understood how the business worked early on, how when you would go out there and it was your job to put somebody over. But was that, the wheels turning then of saying, okay, I know how I can make this work where people are going to believe I can take down anybody.
Well, see, you, my mind, Sean, my mind was already set on, and that's why I wanted all the young wrestlers out here listen to this video or whatever to get the idea that the little man is not supposed to be the giant killer.
Right.
The, if the little man is out there is supposed to be working with the giant and putting the giant over, and you're just limited what you can do. And but look like some of the little guys wants to go out there and beat the bigger guys.
Hmm.
It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And I was the one that I loved. I didn't mind losing because if I went out there and worked with some of the bigger guys than me and stuff like that, well, you know what? I loved it because if I was in the street fight, I would lose
Hmm.
because I don't have the power as a big guy has.
Yeah. You had to find
You
another
know,
way.
and that's what it is now. You
Yeah.
a little man can't be a champion if there's a lot of great big giants around that man. I mean, that can tear your head off. It's not the same. It's not the
Yeah.
same, and that's how I mean from day one, Sean. When I got in the wrestling business, I my first opponent was Big Joe LeDuc,
Yeah.
and I put him over big time in Memphis, Tennessee. And you know what? And he just told me, he said, Coco, I got to give you something. I got to give you something. You're making me look good. And you know what? And I said, no, no, Joe. I said, I want to put you over strong, strong, strong. I said, I don't even want you to go off your feet. But he came up before the match was over. He said, Coco, I want you to slam me. I want you to slam me right in the here. This is right here on Channel 5 in Memphis, Tennessee, live.
Yeah.
So I said, no. Now he's main event against Jerry Lawler Monday night. And I said, no, I don't want to do that, Joe. He said, I'll tell you what, if you don't do it, I'm gonna slap the heck out of you. And like I
Yeah.
said, for real. He said, for a shoot. And I'm going, oh my God. Well, I mean, we don't have to turn it into a fight or anything like that, Joe. And then and Joe went for it, and Joe made the move. He said,
Yeah.
when you get up, you go to try to body slam me. Don't worry about it. And when I went to go to body slam Joe, Joe just turned over and
Right.
and just got a little pop, got a big pop from the crowd. The Koko B Ware just slammed Joe LeDuc. Oh my God, I can't believe it.
Yeah. Well, that was an
And
ultimate respect. He returned it, that he
yes,
understood
and
what, yeah.
right. And when we got back to the dressing room, Lawler was kind of upset with Joe and going like, Joe, I told you I don't want you to go off your feet and all that. And Joe LeDuc said, and told Jerry Lawler, said, Jerry, I had to give this kid something because this
Hmm.
kid worked his butt off. He took a lot of bumps from me and,
Hmm.
and put me over like $1 million, put me over. He said, I know we were working Monday night main event and all that, but I had to get him something. I had to do something for him. He said, but that's not many guys would have a mind like that and think like that. And
Right.
if you just look at the match, go back and look, and wrestling fans, go back and look in Memphis, Tennessee, Koko B Ware first match with Joe LeDuc,
Yeah.
and then you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And
But it,
so,
it 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 kind of explains the business, like the way it was back then. That
right,
if they understood that what you were doing, putting them over, and you respected what they were doing, they returned the favor. And you mentioned Jerry Lawler there. Now, we just talked about WrestleMania 3 and the heights that you had reached at that point. But there had to be some people along the way that helped you. And you mentioned Plowboy Frazier. I know was a guy that helped you along, and he kept harping to Jerry Lawler. You got to look at this kid. You got to look. I don't even know. Maybe you were a Coco kid then, but how did Jerry Lawler help you? I know he was a big influence on your career.
well, Jerry was kind of like a promoter.
Yeah.
with Jerry Jarrett in
Yep.
Memphis, and we ran a little. It was a little spot show town uh, that they run every Friday night, Blytheville, Arkansas,
Hmm.
and well, Plowboy Frazier and Lawler, they're great friends, big buddies. I'm talking about they rode up down the road together.
Hmm.
They just ate together. They did everything, and so uh, Plowboy called King up and said, Jerry, man, I got a guy here, man. He's a carbon copy of you. I mean, and he is one heck of a worker.
Hmm.
And he said, I need you to give him a shot. And if he don't perform you, uh, like I told you what, he said, man, I will buy your lunch 10 times.
Yeah.
We go out to eat 10 times. I buy your supper, dinner, whatever, 10 times. And he said, you got to take a look at Lawler. So can he come to Blytheville, Arkansas? I said, he said, yeah, I get him over
Hmm.
there.
Yeah.
So I went over there and I worked I met Lawler and everything. And then I met, Lawler said, Frazier tell me that man, you can go. I said, well, I don't know about all that. I was still humble. I never did pat myself on the back or anything like that. I was just as humble as it can get. And so I went out there with Cowboy Frankie Lane, and
Hmm.
Lawler said, "This is Cowboy Frankie Lane is one of my best high spot guys that I have." And I said, "Okay." I said, "That's fine." And I was just that little kid, humble,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, you know, and didn't have the big head or anything like that. And so I went out there with Frankie Lane, and Frankie Lane started calling some spots, started calling stuff. Boom, I was right there. Boom, calling some stuff, some more stuff, and Frankie Lane said, "Oh my God, man, this kid, you are great." And that still didn't bother me. That still didn't
Yeah.
bother me at all. And so I said, Frankie said, "Can you do this? Can you do this?" I said, "Yep, yep." I said, "Can you do it?" He said, "Yep." And I was right there. I was right there when Frankie was calling these spots. The match was over. Of course, Frankie won the match,
Yeah.
but he was so happy, and he went back to the dressing room. He said, "Jerry, this kid is awesome. This kid is awesome, big time, man. Where's he? Where did he come from?" And Lawler told him, "Well, that's Plowboy Frazier's. Uh, he was trained by Plowboy, and
Yeah.
so he said, man, he is great. He is great. He's one of the best ones that y'all ever brought in here." And I'm not saying that, but this kid is. Don't you know this kid did everything I asked him to do, and he sold. That's my thing was he said he sold like $1 million. When I punched him, he sold. He got down.
Yeah.
He got sympathy. He got sympathy from the from the people on the first match.
Hmm.
The people felt sorry for him because he was, he thought the bad guys was killing him. So his face was
Yeah.
frowning. He looked like he was crying and going on and everything. And I said, it was awesome, and then Lawler said, "Man, can you make TV Saturday morning? This is on a Friday." I said, "I guess so, Lawler. I mean, Jerry, I don't know." I said, "I never been to Memphis or anything." So I had to get my
Never
dad
been
and
to
everything.
Memphis. Wow.
I had to get my dad and all that stuff Dad,
Drive
do
you
you
there.
know where Memphis at? I need. I said, we going to Memphis, Dad. We got to be at this Channel 5 TV station in the morning. My dad said, and my father said, I don't know. I don't know if I know anything about. I don't know where that is. Dad, we got to find it. We got to find it. We got to ask somebody or whatever. And and that's exactly what we did. And then that's when I met Jared, and
Yeah.
uh, and Jared said, "Well, they tell me Lawler said you and Frank and Lane just tore the house down over there last night. Oh my God!" And I said, "I don't know." And I was kind of like, I said, I don't know. I just kind of like just said, "Well, we had a good match." We went out
Yeah.
there and worked and stuff. The people looked like they loved it and stuff. He said, "Yeah," but he said, "Lawler said you're really something else." So as time went on, man, I was still humble, and
Yeah. You never changed, Coco. You never did. And
I never changed. That's what I'm saying.
yeah, you never
I
did.
was I was working, and then I got partners with Bobby Eaton and stuff
Hmm.
like that, and then I got partners with another friend, the Norvell Austin, the PYT Express, and stuff like. And but I always kept that even when I went to New York and Vince and them put me in there with Nikolai Volkov,
Hmm.
and on Saturday night main event,
Main event. Yeah.
and Vince and them wanted me to go over on Nikolai, but I said, Vince, can we do it this way? Is there any way I can get a fast count on Nikolai and me slide out of the ring? And where because I want to keep Nikolai Volkov strong. He's a big giant.
Right.
I want to come behind him and give him a schoolboy 1, 2, 3. Out I go, and Nikolai jumps back up on his feet. I said, other than that, I don't have a 2 by 4, a baseball bat or whatever to knock Nikolai out. And I said, I don't want to beat him just 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
That won't look good at all.
No, that was great. And you kept pretty good company. Like you said, you were had a rapid ascension in the company and keeping some pretty good company. Just with Hulk Hogan, if you got a shine from him, that certainly helped. And I know in the for the in the '88 Survivor Series when you got to team up with Randy and Hillbilly Jim, I think Hercules Hernandez was also Herc was part of that. Uh, what was it like to have been? I mean, really handpicked in a sense to be a part of when you got near the Hulkster, that certainly helped you. And I know you had a pretty good relationship with him.
Yeah, when Hulk came into Memphis,
Yeah,
him and Beefcake,
right. Were they the
and
Boulder brothers then?
yeah,
Yeah,
Eddie
yeah,
and Terry Boulder,
yeah.
and uh, and so Hulk was kind of Lawler told him to go out. Said, Hulk, this is what I want y'all to do. Y'all in a tag match tonight. He said, I want y'all to go out there and Hulk, I want you to shoot the guy in, give him a bear hug, beefcake. I want you to shoot the guy in, and give him a slam. Just slam the guy,
Hmm.
and y'all do this 10 times, and then y'all double pin these guys. 1, 2, 3.
Right.
Well, they did that, and then Terry rolled out of the ring. When it was over, he come back to the dressing room. He was going, man, I felt like I didn't do nothing out there at all. I let the people down and all that stuff.
Hmm.
So, and he said, I wanted to do more than that. I just wanted to do more, a whole lot more than that. So Terry had a big old green Lincoln, and I said, Terry, I said, man, I got a guy that has a wrestling ring in his backyard inside his barn. I said, we can go to this little town called Dyersburg, Tennessee, and we can go work out in it. It was one of the Welch's brothers' granddaddy,
Mm-hmm.
Ron Fuller and Robert Fuller.
Mm-hmm.
It was their grandfather a place.
Uh-huh.
And so I took Hulk and I took Beefcake and stuff like that, and we went up there. And of course, Hawk wanted to, man, I want to drop kick and all this stuff. I said, no, Terry. I said, you need to do the big man stuff. You need to do the big man stuff. What's the big man stuff? I said, hitting the guy with a clothesline, dropping the leg, hitting him with a splash, and stuff like that. And so he said, really? No. He said, no, I want a drop kick. He said, well, you too big for that. You don't need a
Yeah.
drop kick. So Terry looked at me. He said, really? He said, this is all you need.
Yeah.
It's all you need to do. I said, Terry, this is all you need to do. And then as you go, you can hulk up and everything like Jared Lawler and stuff like that. And man, and here it is. I mean, you I said, you already the people. I said, Terry, you already over with the people.
Yeah.
If you walk down the street and everybody saw you, everybody pulling on side, they pulling their cars on the side of the road. Who is that big guy? Oh my God!
Yeah.
It's a people just you're already over to the people. And when he and in 1986, of course, Terry and Beefcake they left and went to Varngunya,
Yeah.
and I didn't see them no more until 1986.
Uh-huh.
And there's Andre. Terry wasn't there. He came in later. There was Andre and Don Morocco and a lot of the other guys.
Yeah. The Terra, all those
Yeah,
guys. Yeah.
all those guys, man. Paul Orndorff and all of the
Rock and
Bob.
wrestling.
Yes, sir. And it was
Mm.
all. And then and then I was sitting over in the corner, and I didn't say, and that's I always my trainer always told us, don't go in the dressing room running your mouth, being a greenhorn. Don't go in there and running your mouth and stuff like that. Y'all don't know. You don't know nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Sooner or later, the big guys they'll come over there and they'll shake your hand if they like you or not.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when I was over sitting over in the corner, and then all of a sudden Hulk Hogan came through the dressing room, and he kind of looked back, and Hulk looked back at me. He said, "No, no, no, I be damned. I can't believe it. I be damned." And he ran over there, Sean, and picked me up, man, and shook me like it was his baby, man. He shook me. Oh my God, I can't believe it. And Hulk looked at Andre and all the
Yeah.
guys over there,
Yeah.
Orton and all of them, and he said, y'all see this little so and so, so and so, so and so here? He's the only one that helped me out in Memphis, Tennessee. Me and Beefer, he was the only one, and,
Wow.
and, and that helped me out and got me started in Memphis. And you know what? He said, "Man, thank you, man. You finally made it." He said, and it was just like, and I'm just going. He just like shook the heck out of me.
Yeah.
My little eyes was just popping out of my head.
Yeah.
Seemed like,
I've
it was,
heard I've heard other stories like that Terry didn't forget the people because he got a lot of people don't know his story when he came in and they tried to run him off and I mean to the extreme. Of course they know about Matsuda breaking his leg and that, but it was beyond that. They didn't like him, the surfer dude with the long blonde hair. He didn't come from where they came from. And a lot of them, they did. They were rough, really rough on him. So the people that did help him, and you were certainly included in that group of people. I know Ted DiBiase, the same thing. Ted put him over at the Garden when he first came up to the WWF at the time, and he never forgot Ted about doing that. So, there's a lot of stories about the Hulkster. If you've said before, either you like him or you don't, or whatever. But he did take care of a lot of people,
But I
and
will
and
take.
he didn't forget. And like I said, like that Survivor Series, not that you certainly weren't didn't have the clout in the company to be in that kind of group of people, but it certainly helped when the Hulkster gave you a little shine, and he certainly liked you, and I know that there were
Oh
times
yeah,
when he
yeah.
looked after you.
He brought me in at one of his stores in Florida and stuff, and just to make a little extra money to sell my 8 by 10 pictures and stuff like that. But this is what I want to say too, and it's been on my mind to say this, and I hadn't said it on nobody for podcast or anything uh, about Hogan. Uh, I'm so sorry that he's gone on. We lost a great icon
Hmm.
in the wrestling world, and I want to let the world to know. I want them to know. I'm gonna let you know. And they said Hulk Hogan was racist
Hmm.
and stuff like that. Sean, Beefcake and Hulk and myself were riding in the Lincoln Continental in Hulk's Continental, up and down the roads, doing the Memphis territory. That word never was brought up at no time while I was in that car, in that dressing room. That word in was never brought up. And whoever was saying that Hulk Hogan was saying that, I don't believe it. I just don't believe it because they they didn't treat me that way.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say whether or not that was something, like you said, coming down to a word, but in your presence, like all the time, and you did spend a lot of time with him, you never witnessed him being a racist or
No,
making racist remarks any time
exactly,
around.
exactly. Never. And the family gave me, and I hated it that I couldn't make his funeral, but they gave it to me too late for me to try to make it. And
Hmm.
I and but I'm just saying to the family, God bless his soul, and God bless you all too, you know, and that I'm sorry that I wasn't able to make the funeral. But I wanted to. It was in my heart to make it and
Hmm.
everything like that. And nobody owes me anything, and I just want to say that I just wished I had a little more time with Hulk. Uh, I did have Hulk's phone number and stuff like that, but I wasn't going to just wear his phone number out. I was just going to call him, "Hey, big bro," just like I would do Kamala. "Hey, big bro, how you doing? You doing all right? Yeah, everything's okay." And same way with Jimmy Hart. "Hey, Jimmy, how you
Hmm.
doing? Things okay?" And all that stuff. I'm not one of those guys going to be on the phone constantly bothering, because I'm one of the boys too.
Yeah.
I know what it's all about. But I just wished I could have talked to him a little bit more than I did. And but that's good. I'm just glad that my brother's gone on. and I hope his family is doing excellent.
Yeah. Well, that was quite a tribute, Coco. And I don't know. And since you're talking about it, in a sense, with the Hulkster, I don't know. You still have the scar on your hand from that trip to England and that
Oh my
European
God!
tour. But do you still have the scar, right, on your hand
It's
from that?
it's still there,
Yeah,
right
yeah,
here.
yeah. And the reason I bring it up because you were talking about Terry. Um, there was an incident in the United Kingdom. It began with Jim Troy, who was an executive at the time with the WWE, who got in an altercation or a verbal altercation because Sean didn't get involved as much as you ended up, but with
Right.
him calling out, and Jim was always like supposedly this big tough hockey player, and probably at the time was not. Probably had a few cocktails or so, but it turned into a very ugly incident. But and I don't know if you want to talk about it again, but another reason I bring it up too is that if people don't think that you are one tough son of a bitch, I mean, like you, if you know, like you said, you're not the tallest person in the world, but and you were the nicest person in the world until somebody crossed you. You have this moral belief, you follow it, you have principles, and somebody steps over that line, you're going to pay a price. That day, Jim Troy did. You didn't get him. You actually were trying to be the guy that broke it up, and he smacked you. I think he slapped you or whatever. But um, tell what you want to talk about with that, but also what Terry did for you in that
Well,
situation.
uh, we was over there, over in the farm country. I think it was London, I believe. I'm not for
Yeah.
sure. And we was at this little bar that night down from the hotel getting food, and guys was kind of getting a little beer, drinking a little bit. And of course, I was drinking a little bit, and then they had a piano there, and I got
Yeah.
on the piano, and I started playing the piano and stuff like that. But I noticed Troy was he was at the bar, and then there's this referee. I can't think of his name,
Mhm.
but anyway, this referee was there, and Shawn Michaels was there. Well, Sean and they got into it, and I'm going. So the manager came over and asked me, the manager of the bar. He said, "Man, can you go over there and stop your guys, say something to them or whatever, because I don't
Yeah.
want my place tore up." And I'm going over there. So I said, really, I don't have nothing to do with that, you know. And he said, well, just man, I hate to see him because look like they're Shawn Michaels and Troy was nose to nose when I got over there. And man, when I got over there, well, uh, Troy just turned around and looked. He said, "Oh my God, here's another phony ass fucking wrestler."
Hmm.
And I'm going, Troy. I said, "Come on, man, we over here." I said, "You get in trouble over here, man, we ain't never get out of here." You know, I can't fucking believe it. You know, I'm telling you right now, he don't have no fucking guts. And I'm ready to tell you right now, he don't have nothing. He's pointing his finger in my face and stuff like that. He said, "I'm a hockey player. I'm a lot tougher than you motherfucker wrestler, phony ass wrestlers. This McMahon pays me a whole lot of fucking money to put up with y'all fucking ass." Wrestling fan, I'm sorry for saying all of that the way it was, but that's what he was saying.
Hmm.
There are kids out there that I still respect, but parents, forgive me.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is, then he turned around and I said, Troy, come on, man. And then Troy said, well, he don't have any guts. Let me see if you got any guts. And he turned around, bam, and just slapped me, you know.
Mm-mm-mm.
And I just kind of look. I just kind of looked. I didn't take a bump or nothing on the floor or anything. I just kind of turned my head and I said, Troy, do you realize you done hit the wrong MF? I said, you done hit the wrong MF.
Yeah.
And when he said that, there was a beer bottle. Well, I don't remember that, but I tore into to Troy. I tore into him and everything. And then there was a beer bottle laying on the floor, and I went back, and my left hand, palm of my hand, landed on the beer bottle, and it cracked
Mm.
and cut my hand across here.
Wow.
You can see it right. It's
Yeah.
a knife thing right across there, and but that didn't stop me from fighting. I kept
Yeah.
fighting and fighting. I beat Troy down. I'm talking about he was blacker than me,
Wow. Yeah.
and I went got and then and finally Troy ran. He ran out of the restaurant. He ran and he jumped in the taxi. Now here it is. Here it is. I don't know why I thought I could out. I don't know why I came up with the think that I could outrun a taxi driver.
You were that
I'm
mad though.
behind.
Yeah.
I'm behind the taxi driver, and I'm chasing him up the hill, but going by the hotel where we stand at. And then I stopped, and then Sean, Troy and them just kept going.
Yeah.
And when they kept going, I asked the, I went inside the hotel. I asked the reception. I said, "What room is Marty Jannetty's in?"
Mm.
And he told me. I went down there to Marty Jannetty's room. I said, "Marty, man, I had to fight for Sean. Sean and Troy got into it, and he spit in Sean's face, and he did that. He slapped them all around. He slapped them around. Then he turned around and slapped me, and I laid in on him. I said he's bleeding somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
I said he's bleeding somewhere, and of course Marty said Sean didn't do nothing. Man, when
He was hot.
Marty
Yeah.
Marty got mad. Marty got mad. So what room Troy in? Give me the room. Give me his room key. Give me. And Marty went in went into his room, Troy's room, and tore his room up. I'm talking
Yeah.
about bed, turned the bed over,
Yeah.
everything, clothes, everything. Marty, and I just stood back and watched Marty. Marty was upset. Coco just stand back and he just tore his whole bed up and all this stuff. I mean,
Wow.
everything, dresser, all his dressers. This is a hotel, but he destroyed it. Then he went looking for Sean, and when he got Sean, oh my God, he turned around and why? What's wrong with you? Why didn't you fight that so and so, so and so?
Wow. Well, didn't Troy come back and then it wasn't over
Yeah,
yet, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
When Troy came back, me and Marty, me and Marty went back up front. It was like a dining room with all that kitchen and stuff was added on. where you walk in, tables and chairs and stuff, and that's where. And then when Troy came in, we was sitting there at the time, and I got up and I said, Troy, it's not over.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. I
You
said,
must
it's
have
not
been
over.
hot, Coco, because
Yeah,
you're not thinking of your career at this point. You're just
I
this
didn't
guy
hear him.
just yeah.
And I sat there and I pounded on Troy, pounded on him, pounded on him, and pounded on him, pounded on him. And the last time I saw Troy, he was laying on the table upside down
Oh,
on his back.
geez.
And then the next morning, Pat Patterson, Terry Garvin, one of them, that was Pat.
Yeah.
Pat came over, called me on the phone, and said, Coco, man, what happened here last night? I said, that darn Troy, man. I said, wasn't my fight. I
Hmm.
said, but he turned around and hauled off and slapped me, and I turned around and I just leaned into him.
Yeah.
And I said, he said, but golly, did you know how you beat the crap out of him. You beat the
Hmm.
crap out of him. I said, Pat, I don't know what I did. I said, he turned around and I told Pat everything he said and everything, all that stuff. And he said, Pat said, well, oh my God. So at that time, Vince already done sent Troy home.
Did Troy did he make racial remarks as well during this or no?
Oh no. He didn't make no racial mark at
Okay.
all.
Because
But he
these
just
people had reported that, and I wanted to clear that up that it was
no, he
yeah.
did not. No,
Okay.
he didn't. He just said
Yeah, he was just
that,
disparaging, saying you guys weren't real true athletes and all that.
right, that the hockey player was
And
like
like you
that.
said, you would have walked away from that. It's just that when he hit you, that was game over. That was game over
Or
for
that,
him.
yeah,
Yeah.
that just
Yeah.
man just turned around. I just went back for what my dad what my dad taught us. He said, if you're in the right, fight for your rights. But if you're in
Yeah.
the wrong, you deserve to get your butt kicked.
Hmm. You
So
knew you
don't.
weren't wrong.
You're right. Don't start a fight.
Yeah.
Especially when they know you're wrong.
Yeah. So you
From
did
day
hear from Vince shortly after, right? What
well,
what was his reaction?
when we got to Paris,
Yeah.
when we got to Paris, we got dressed and everything, and I'm getting ready for my match and all that stuff. And so I think it was Terry Garvin came over. Yeah, Terry Garvin. He said, Coco, Vince is on the phone and he'd like to talk to me. I said, okay.
Uh-oh.
So here we go. I already knew what it was. So I was going, yes, sir. Coco, what the fuck is wrong with you? Want to beat up my fucking executive? What is fucking wrong with you? Do you realize you beat the F out of him? What is wrong with you, Coco? I said, Vince, I said, now can I tell you my story? Vince kept going on. I said, all I was saying, Vince, can you listen to me for one time? Can I tell my story now?
Yeah.
You got his story. I said, are you gonna listen? You got time to listen to me? Yeah, you go ahead. Go ahead and say what you got to say. I said, well, Vince, it wasn't my fight from the get go. I didn't have anything to do with it. It was between Shawn Michaels and Troy. They was at the bar fighting. I said, the manager came over there and asked me to go over there and break them up and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then they then Troy turned around and turn around and say, here's another phony wrestler. Here's another phony. Here, the Vince McMahon pays me a lot of money to put up with you phony wrestlers and all that. I'm a hockey player. I make we a lot tougher than you fucking wrestlers.
Mm.
So Vince Vince is going. Now Vince cools down a little bit. He said, "Well, it's the only thing I can't have my executive wants to be a wrestler, and I can't have a wrestler wants to jump on my executive. So I sent him home already. So I want you to pack your bags and you go home." So I said, "Okay." So I went over there and I talked to Hulk. I said, "Hulk, Vince wants me to go home. He's already done sent Troy home. And Troy's wife was just stepping off the plane. She'd been flying all night.
Come get him.
No, to meet Troy,
Yeah.
so they could have a. She was just coming over to meet Troy
Oh, okay.
on like a vacation.
Yeah.
But Troy is already. They was him and the Hulk was already over there.
Yeah.
And so when I told Terry that, Terry said, he looked at me, he said, "You know what, Koko? You go on home. Don't you worry about it. You go on home." He said, "I'm going to make sure that you coming back. You coming back. You coming back to WWF. And if you don't come back, you can put it down. I will quit Vince McMahon right now. I will quit the company."
Wow.
Exactly, exact words he said. "I will quit the company." He said, "You didn't do nothing." He said, "You saved me for fighting Troy, because that's what was on my mind. I wanted to knock him out. He's been a pain in the butt over here with me."
Mm.
I said, "But it wasn't my fight." He said, that's when Hulk said, "It don't matter, Koko. You was involved in it. He slapped you. You did the right thing. Slapped him back. You know, and you took care you took care of business, brother. I'm proud of you. But I will get you. I will get your job back to you."
Mm. Wow. And he did.
Yep.
Was how much after that before you got the call that you're back in? It wasn't long,
About,
right?
about 2 weeks.
Yeah. Wow. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it is. I mean, you have that connection to the Hulkster. Also, you're very remembered for helping to put other superstars over as well. A young kid by the name of Mark Calloway, as we all know, the Undertaker, and you had the unfortunate situation to be one of the first to take uh, that pile
The two,
driver,
yeah,
the
whatever it was, the
tombstone, and he
tombstone.
almost ended your career. What do you remember from that? It was the Survivor Series 1990 when they debuted the Undertaker, and I think people knew at the time that this was a kid that was going to do really well. But how did you draw that ticket, and what do you remember from that night? Because it was scary.
Well, see, number one, I was Hulk Hogan's health trainer.
Yeah.
The people didn't know it. A lot of the boys didn't know it. That Hulk would come to me and say, "Koko, work with this big guy here and see can I draw any money with him." And
Mm.
Hulk was like this. If you handle Hulk real rough, I mean, and he wouldn't get in the ring with you. He didn't want to have anything to do with you.
Right.
That's the reason why him and Kamala, they went 6 months straight. Kamala was just like a baby to him.
Yeah.
When Kamala give him a splash, It was just like Kamalika splash a baby, but
Yeah,
not her,
well,
not her. And
yeah,
that's what Hulk loved. That's what he said. Well, Coco, that's what it was. So you know, I just completely, uh, I didn't have, I didn't have anything that I was real nice and stuff like that. I was quiet, and then Mark, when I didn't know. See, the only thing though, Sean, I didn't know. Didn't nobody tell me, and I've been and I had the experience with guys and stuff, and showing them stuff, as a trainer.
yeah,
But I didn't know. I didn't know. Mark, that was his first time doing the tombstone on somebody.
hmm
That somebody was me.
Mute, yeah,
What I'm saying, if they had have just told me that Mark was going to do this, and then I would have asked Mark, do he know how to do? He know how to do it.
yeah,
Has did it before, and because of that's how I was the big guys trainers,
yeah,
and so I didn't get a chance to relate to him like that,
yeah. You could have worked with them. Yeah,
when we went out there, you know, I'm putting him over, I'm putting him over big time. Go back and look at the matches,
yeah.
wrestling
No,
fans. I mean, I'm putting him over big time. And then when he did his tombstone, and you can run the tape back when he gave it to me, my head slipped because he kind of jumped.
yeah,
My head slipped between his thighs, and I didn't. And when we went down, it hit the ring, and that's what made it. Man, my head just popped. You know, but you know what? But I want to say this. You know, uh, yes, I was upset, and
you had good reason to.
but he felt bad because he didn't know. He was green at the time,
Yeah. But
but
like you said, if you would have known, you could have worked with him or you could have helped him and said, look, when you do this, make sure that I'm clear. Make
e-
sure you
e-
got me up high enough, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing about it, once I found out that this is his first time doing the tombstone,
Yeah.
then you know what? It wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
Now it wasn't his fault now.
Yeah.
Here it is. I'm not gonna blame Mark. There's something he never did before. I'm gonna blame Vince now for putting him in the ring with one of his guys that been training the big
Yeah.
guys
Yeah. And not telling you.
and not telling me,
Yeah.
hey,
Oh,
you got to watch, Coco, he's going to do this and that, and Dusty Rhodes, he didn't know either because he was out there too,
yeah.
and you and and when it was all over, yes, I had. That's how I was. I had
Yeah.
enough. I had a my mind just said go over and talk to him. I said, brother, I said, I would have put you over. I don't mind putting you over, but I don't want to be hurt
Right.
because
I got to
I
work.
gotta make a living. I gotta go to the next town. And the next town, I said, if I go out there and if I get hurt doing a match or whatever, then they're not gonna pay me for sitting at home.
Yeah. But that could have ended your career. I mean,
And
that
I said,
that that you look at that, it's frightening to look at because
right.
you
And you know
really, I
what?
mean, you just got dropped right on your head. And like you said, I mean, it could have snapped your neck. Ugh,
But
could have been
but
awful.
but but I told Mark this is what I told Mark later on after I said he didn't know. He didn't
Yeah,
know. And when I talked to Mark later on down the road, and I said, "Man, I'm sorry, Mark. What I because I was a little upset,
yeah,
and because but I didn't know I did not know you didn't know how to do that move,
yeah,
and I apologize, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And
yeah,
even right now, I'm sorry about the Undertaker. And he had a hell of a move after that. And after he got polished with it, don't you know, he was damn
yeah.
good at it.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, yeah,
You know, and that's the thing. I said, why they didn't take him to a training where, or they could have got me to come over there and say, Coco, this is what we're trying to do,
yeah,
and try to get him to do this move here,
yeah.
this
Practiced it.
Undertaker
Yeah.
move, and you know what? I would have been more happy to help
Oh
him
hell yeah.
on not because his money's involved or whatever. Vince McMahon them didn't have to pay me. They didn't pay me no way
Yeah,
to show
for
these guys
training.
what to do.
Yeah. No, you were just giving back to the business for people who had done it
I
to
just
you.
wanted to give it back to the business, and
Yeah.
I was doing it for Hulk because Hulk wanted he wanted me to train these guys so he have different guys to work with to draw some money with,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
you know.
Hey
And
Coco, really it's been awesome talking with you. But I'm still amazed that, all these years later, I mean, we're talking decades now, that people still look at that era, those the 80s and the early 90s as being what they call the golden era. When you look back now, why do you think it was such a special time in professional wrestling, and that to this day, people know who the Birdman Koko B Ware is, uh, and still relive all that? What was it about that time that just made it so special?
well, everybody was hungry then,
Yeah,
and then and it's all about the respect.
yeah,
It's knowing who you are and what you can do and what you can't do. I just had it in mind that I could never be. It's just no logical in in a street fight out here that a little man can beat a big man.
yeah. David and Goliath.
Even today,
Yeah,
I want all the little rascals out there all today to think about it. You can't go in there and beat a giant killer. You can't. You can't go out there and beat these giants. It special 1, 2, 3. Unless
yeah,
you hit them with a baseball bat, at least you picking up something to knock them out with. That's the only believed thing that we can relate to. But
yeah,
we can't relate to the people that we going out there beat them right in the middle of the ring 1, 2, 3. That's baloney. I hate that.
yeah,
I don't care who you are. You are not going to go out there and beat a big giant man. Beat Andre the Giant 1, 2, 3.
yeah. Not gonna happen. But as
It's
far
not
as
going to
the
happen.
Yeah, but as far as being, like you were to wear that on your chest, you were a superstar with the WWF, WWE, as we say. And I'm
Right.
sure you still, when you go to these shows, well, how does it make you feel when these people come up to you and they say, Coco, I can't thank you enough because you were part of my childhood. I know we hear this all the time, but there were these kids and it was their escape from the world, and maybe they didn't get along with their dad or something, but dad liked professional wrestling, and it bonded them together. Uh, I'm sure you hear it all the time, but it's never been like that again. It may be. I'm not saying that we don't have great product, and there was just a magical time for professional wrestling, and I'm sure when people come up to you. Uh, how does it make you feel to know that you were part of that that brings back such great fond memories for them?
Well, see, Sean, I'm telling you, the wrestling fans, they are very, very important as
Yeah.
well. They're the one who can make you or break you or whatever.
Yeah.
So you got to respect. That's why I would hate. You got to respect the wrestling fans or all the fans all over the country with the NBA sports fans.
Mhm.
You got to respect them because they are your bread and butter.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for them, you wouldn't you wouldn't be as popular.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
You
They
know,
put you over.
so if my fan wanted a Koko B Ware autograph, if he wanted a Michael Jordan autograph, LeBron James autograph, sign it
Yeah.
because that's gonna be memories to that person. It's not
For a
gonna.
lifetime.
It's gonna be a lifetime memories of that person. So you need to sign autographs because they're the one buying the ticket for you for to see us.
Yeah.
So why hurt their feelings?
Mm. Yeah.
Why say
So,
no to a wrestling fan or any kind of NBA fan, a NFL fan, a
yeah.
hockey fan, a boxing fan? It's no different. A
Yeah.
sports fan is they the one make us. Hey, yes, we making if we making millions of dollars and stuff like that. Well, try about it. Who's helped making us the $1 million? They are.
Yeah. Well, you talk about those $1 million. You guys made good money, but you weren't making what they're making today. Do you feel you were kind of a trailblazer in that it's kind of like I think the way the old Major League Baseball players felt or the NFL football players felt. You guys,
Yeah,
the
but
kind of money they make today must make you go, "Wow, we did okay, but man, nothing like this."
well, you know what, Sean? I mean, you're right. We did okay. It's kind of embarrassing what we made and stuff like that. But
Mm.
I appreciate the young generation. But try about it though. They doing it. They doing it the wrong way.
Mm.
You know, who have there's no heel and there's no baby face no more in the wrestling business.
Yeah, yeah.
Why take the fun out?
That was fun.
Why take the fun out? Don't you like that dirty heel that can come out with a pair of brass knucks and knock that devil out of a baby face and win the match 1, 2, 3? That's why I got into wrestling. That's how I love the business like that. I love it.
Hmm.
And they took it now. They done took it away from the
Yeah,
wrestling fans because everybody comes out. The wrestling fans don't know who to cheer or what
yeah,
and who to boo and all that stuff because they're not telling the story. The heel is they don't want the heel to go over. The heel's supposed to cheat. It's all about it. The heel is supposed to cheat and win.
yeah.
The babyface is supposed to win straight.
And always settles the score. Eventually settles the score, right?
But why take it away?
Yeah,
Why
it is.
take
It's
the
not the
fun
same.
away?
Yeah, it's not the same. Coco, when all is said and done, and you have many years left on this planet, I pray. But how do you want to be remembered?
I just want to be the fans remember me. Hey, there was this little Birdman that came through all the towns and the countries and stuff like that came around with this parrot and all that stuff. That's what I want them to remember me of, the Birdman. you know, and uh, and that's I came up with this gimmick. He said this man came up. I came up with my own gimmick. Nobody gave me this.
Mhm.
And you know what? And I thank God for Vince McMahon picked it up and man, we did sell put some put some seats out, sold some seats out there. You know, we did do that. There's
Well,
fans out there that bought a whole lot of Birdman tickets.
yeah, they sure did. You were one of the best, my friend. One of the best. And really, I just want to thank you for taking the time today. You and I could talk for hours, but really, you were uh, one of the best. And it wasn't not just in the ring, but out of that ring, which counted even more to me.
And that's what I just want to say to all the fans out there, all the boys out there that that I haven't seen in a while. I, that I went up and down the road with and stuff like that. Man, hey, I just want you all to stay closer to God
Hmm.
and let God handle your life.
Hmm.
Give God the steering wheel, and I guarantee you won't never go down the wrong place. And Sean, what I'm doing now, I'm in the church big time and stuff like that. I played lead guitar. I sang in the male chorus in my church and stuff like that. And I give God a lot of my time. And this is for a shoot. It's for real. You know that God have helped me in so many ways. The stuff I didn't have, I have it now. You know, everybody's got a blessing, Sean, with your name on it, and can't nobody receive it but you. So the blessings out there, it may not come when you want it, but it's going to be right on time when you really need it.
The
So
Birdman
wrestling,
still flying. Thank you so much, Coco.
thank you, and thank you, Sean, for having me, man. You still look great. Give my regards to your family and all that, and I'll hoping to see you on Jacques Rougeau.
Yes, we should
Show
mention that.
coming.
Yeah, we're going to be catching up in person in Gatineau, Quebec on May 30th at Legends Mania. How much fun's that going to be?
Oh, it's going to be a whole lot of
Yeah.
fans. I want all of my Quebec fans to come out. Let's have a great time out there. Let's have a great time. That the Birdman is coming to town just to get down. And I'm gonna go off with this note, Sean. Bird, 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 do the bird, 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 bird,
Come
bird,
on,
bird.
everybody, get up on your
Everybody
feet.
get up. Everybody get down. You better stretch your stuff because the Birdman's in town. Bird, bird,
Bird, bird, bird.
bird, do the bird, bird, man. Hey, see y'all.
All right, Coco, thank you, man. It's great. You really, I'm looking so forward to seeing you.